Hey friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. My name is Sarah and today I am doing the Historathon Quarter 2 announcement video talking about all of the books that I plan to read for Historathon Quarter 2. Now Historathon is a thon that was created by Revenant Reads. He is down in the description along with his co-hosts. And how this thing goes is we are to read at least one nonfiction within a certain era each quarter of the year. So there are 4 different dividers. Quarter 2 goes April, May, and June, and the time period is from 580 to 1580. Now, quarter 1 was a little difficult for me. I think I finished 2 books for quarter 1. Although I did read a gigantic mammoth for March, which was London, a biography by Peter Ackroyd, and a good portion of that would have also fit in to quarter 1. So I'll say I read 2.5 books. I will talk about those on my March wrap-up video here in a couple of days. But tonight I want to share with you guys all of the books that I chose from my shelves to start off quarter 2. I have a lot more books for quarter 2, and I really think I'm going to get quite a bit more read for this quarter than I did for quarter 1. Quarter 1 was my first time doing Historathon, and I just didn't really have a whole lot of books available to me that fell within that prehistory to 500 time period. But for this quarter, I have a ton. So I actually didn't even take everything off of my shelves that I have that will fit into this quarter. I really just took what I could fit into the top shelf of my little cart here, along with a couple more stacked on top. And I figured, okay, I'll stop there and see how I do with these before I add any more. But I've got 3 months, April, May, and June, to read through whatever I can that falls between 500 and 1580. So I just want to share with you guys the things that I chose off of my shelves. These are in no particular order, and I have no idea which one I'm going to read first or which one I want to read more or whatever, but we'll get to that as I go along. So the first one here is called 1491, A New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus by Charles C. Mann. This one I think is going to be really interesting. It basically talks about how lots of people for long time before 1492 had been in America, right? So it talks about some of the earlier discoverers and settlers in America that were here long before Columbus came in 1492. In fact, just from these maps, you can see this says humanized landscapes before 1492. The red part, the little red dots, are clearing by fire. The green dots, husbandry, agroforestry, irrigation in the blue, terracing, earthworks. There is plenty of evidence to show that there were people in the Americas long before Columbus discovered it. So this will be an interesting book. It looks like it's a little bit annotated or maybe just underlined for the first 80 pages or so. And I always like reading something that has been underlined and annotated as long as it's not too heavy or hard to read, just to kind of get a feel for what other people thought before me. So I will be looking forward to that one. Okay, so next one is The Feudal Monarchy in France and England by Charles Petit-du-Toit. I don't know French. This guy. You see? Okay, that's who it's by. This one also looks like it's pretty annotated. There's a lot of highlighting and underlining in this. And this is The Feudal Monarchy in France and England from the 10th to the 13th century. This is kind of a vintage book, as you can tell. And I chose this from our public library. So the town that I live in is a former resort town, then it turned into a retirement community, and it just like, what do you call that? Became a city, like it's incorporated, that's the word. It just incorporated, maybe that's the word, as a city anyway, just like not even 15 years ago or something. And so, but all that to say, the people who live in this town are mainly retired and elderly age people, like maybe 80% of them, maybe more than that, I'm not sure. But a good majority of the people that live in my town are older people. And so as they are going through their books and donating them to the library bookshop, there are some really cool vintage books there because, you know, these guys have had books for a long time. The estate sales here are really great, you know, people's garage sales and clean out sales and whatever, because there's a lot of cool, you know, old stuff here. So anyway, that's where I got this book. And I don't know anything about the feudal monarchy in France and England, and I really don't even know if this is going to interest me. But I pulled it off the shelf and we'll see. All right, next up, the Book of Kells. Now, I looked through this quite a long time ago. This is the Book of Kells by Bernard Meehan, and it has a lot of photographs of different portions of the Book of Kells. So the Book of Kells was a set of manuscripts that was created in Ireland and northern England, Britain area, like 7th to 10th centuries. And so it's a really great source of medieval art. It's the Gospels, from what I understand. And so you've got all these different really beautiful... So I think that's really fun to read about the history of the Book of Kells and see all this really beautiful artwork. Several years ago, 2019, I think, my husband and I were in England and we were at Winchester Cathedral, and they have a, like on the upstairs, they've got this whole display of the implements that would have been used for this kind of, I don't know why words are failing me today, illuminated writing. And the different inks, you know, and pigments and things that were used, the way that they would do the gold plating, like the gold, you know, I'm talking about when they have gold in the different parts of the illuminated, you know, letters and things, and it's just beautiful. And so we get to learn a lot about that. So I think I will enjoy reading through this little book on the Book of Kells. All right, next up are a few books that I chose from my books that I had saved over from college. I took a couple of classes, I don't know how long ago, a really long time ago, 20 years ago or so. One was on medieval Ireland, one was on like the history of Christianity, and then one was like on the Vikings. I've done the Celts. Anyway, these series of classes with this guy, did them like remotely, and he had studied in the UK quite a bit, so he came back to Eastern Oregon to teach these classes at our Eastern Oregon University. And so I took some classes from him, and so one of the books that I had, so you know, it's been like 20 years or something since I read these, so I thought I'd go back to them, but one of them is the Vinland Sagas. So these are two stories about the Norse discovery of America, again going back to that prior to 1492, and these are translated from a couple of Viking guys, and they're basically Icelandic sagas. Okay, so there's two of those in the Vinland Sagas. And then also this one, this is a book on medieval Ireland by Michael Richter. And this one is heavily annotated by my 27-year-old self. So we'll see what 27-year-old me thought. But I really enjoyed this class, these series of classes, and I really enjoyed this. I actually have quite a bit more up there, and I may get to them. We'll see. All right, the next thing I chose was this set of books by Marjorie Rowling. Actually, no, they're not all from the same person. I'm wrong. Three of them are from Joseph and Frances Geiss, and then one of them is Marjorie Rowling. So it looks to me like a set, but actually it's not. So this is Life in Medieval Times, Life in a Medieval City, Life in a Medieval Castle, and Life in a Medieval Village. So I have had these forever and haven't ever read through them. So I am looking forward to that. I will at least read one of them, but who knows, I might get through all of them, because I'm really excited about this quarter. In fact, it's what is today, the 28th maybe, and I might kind of start early because I am ready for a new book. So I might pick one of these up early. All right, this next one is The Letters of Abelard and Heloise, translated by Betty Radis. And this one I just bought from a friend the other day. So one of my good friends, him and his wife are cleaning out a bunch of books from their downstairs, and so they brought them all up to the garage and let me and my kids come over and pick out whatever we wanted for 25 cents a piece, which was super sweet. And so this is one of the ones that I got, And I didn't really know anything about it. I just was like, Penguin Classics, better grab it. And so the back of this says that the story of Heloise and Abelard remains one of the world's most celebrated and tragic love affairs. It sounds like they had an affair, but then they realized that what they were doing was wrong, and so they became a nun and a monk. Or it could be the other way around. They were a nun and a monk, and then they had an affair, and they decided not to be a nun and a monk anymore. My friend told me, but I can't remember what he said. So yeah, we'll see. Do you guys know anything about these guys? Tell me. Tell me what you know. All right, next up is Memoirs of a Medieval Woman by The Life and Times of Marjorie Kemp. This is by Louise Collis. And I did read this quite a few years ago. And this story, yeah, if I remember right, the woman in this story, so this is a true story as best we can tell. This woman, Louise, wrote this biography of her, drawing on chronicles of her contemporaries and her own autobiography that she dictated to a priest near the end of her life. This woman, Marjorie Kemp, is said to be the first autobiography dictated or written in English. She is quite a character. I remember reading this, and she was something else. So from what I remember, this woman had like a million kids, and I remember that because I have a million kids. And she left her family to go on a pilgrimage. She journeyed all over Europe from England to the Holy Land, okay? So she went on this pilgrimage to Jerusalem and had quite a few interesting adventures on the way. She has some interesting ideas about stuff and how to apply it biblically. I remember it being funny and super weird. So I'm actually looking forward to reading this again. Memoirs of a Medieval Woman. Okay, the next couple of books that I picked up, I don't even know. I may DNF these. These books are on the Knight Templars. This one is The Lost Treasure of the Knight Templars, Solving the Oak Island Mystery by Stephen Sora. So I don't know if you guys are super familiar with, sorry about the glare, geez, with the Oak Island mystery, but supposedly the Knights Templar have hidden, you know, stuff there like the Ark of the Covenant and whatever. So I may or may not read that. I don't know how, I don't know how much of that I can take, right? And then there's this one that is basically just a story of the Knights Templar. It's called The Templars by Pierce Paul Reed. And it sounds like it's just a history of the Templars, how they came to be, what they did, whatever. We'll see. I might read that. This one is called The Grand Inquisitor's Manual, A History of Terror in the Name of God by Jonathan Kirsch. So this is a book about the Great Inquisition, one of Christianity's many dark ages. So yeah, I might read that. This is a biography of St. Patrick of Ireland by Philip Freeman. And I have had this forever and just have never read it, though I really want to. And I'm a little late for, you know, St. Patrick's Day, but that's okay because reading it for Historathon. David Howarth's 1066, The Year of Conquest. I have read this before a long time ago, but this is fairly short and it has been a long time. And since reading this, I have, you know, got a better feel for England and how this whole history thing goes regarding 1066 and the Norman conquest and all that. And so I feel like I will probably understand it a lot better than I did when I read it 15 or 18 years ago. It is short. It's less than 200 pages. And that's a good thing because I just finished reading the biography of London by Peter Ackroyd, and it was about 700 pages too long for me because I was kind of feeling like I was super exhausted as far as my interest in England's history, London's history at least. Yeah, really just London's history. And so I didn't realize how boring that would be for me. That was surprising. It was surprisingly boring actually. And so anyway, but this one is, you know, about England as a whole and the Norman conquest. It's just something that really interests me and I don't know a ton about yet. And so I think I'm looking forward to that book. All right, this one is Mysteries of the Middle Ages by Thomas, is it Cahill? I don't know if I'm going to like this. I read what did I read of his? I think it was his History of the Jews, and I don't know. I didn't really like it. Part of it I didn't like because I didn't feel like it was, I felt like it was biased and not necessarily like prejudice bias, but just like he was biased in some historical facts that I didn't agree with. I didn't think those were historical facts, that they were. I saw that history differently when I read that book by him, and then I just didn't like the voice of it. Or there's just a lot of things I didn't really like. So this is the mystery of the Middle Ages. So yeah, mysteries of the Middle Ages. So if they're actually cool mysteries, that would be fun. The book is actually kind of done in this illuminated style, which is different than that other book that I read by him. This one is really pretty. Let me try back. See the pretty, I just think that's pretty. So that may keep me reading. We'll see. I think the information is going to be great, but I don't know how I feel about him. I mean, I know how I feel about him, but maybe I should give him a second chance. All right, and then last thing I have packed into the top level of this cart is this book called Medieval Women Writers. This is was edited by Katarina M. Wilson. And so this is a selection of poetry, prose, etc., written by medieval women. So we've got Hildegard of Bingen. We have Heloise. Oh, we just had another book on her, didn't we? Marie de France, something I can't pronounce. Saint Bridget, Marguerite Porret. Yeah, there's several in here that I can't even pronounce, so that'll be fun to look up and see. But they're just basically a collection of writings that have survived time by women from medieval times. I think that will be very cool. So that's it. That is my pile of possibilities, as Revenant Reads calls it. Some things that I will be choosing from, and I'm sure, like I said, that I will find some more back here. There's still a couple back there, and I'll probably come across things along the way, but I'm really excited about this quarter. I think I'm going to enjoy these reads. This is especially like Middle Ages England, I really love reading about that time period, and it's been several years since I've really dived into it much at all. So I'm going to enjoy this. Okay, so I hope some of that stuff was, inspiring. Let me know if you've read any of it, all that kind of stuff. And if you are signing up for Historathon Quarter 2, you can visit the links down below, Revenant Reads or any of his co-hosts, to get more information on how all of that works. It is really fun. It is the second kind of like reading challenge that I have done this year, and really at all that I've done since I started BookTube. The other one that I did was the March of the Mammoths, which I just finished, and I don't know, like, I need a redo because the mammoth I chose, I did not really enjoy. And so, yeah, next year we'll do a redo. Maybe I will enjoy March of the Mammoths better next year. But this challenge, I really love. All right, guys, hope you're having a great day, and I hope that this inspired you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.